thank you very much for doing this. I appreciate it. Let me begin with this. It needs to be addressed now. Your health. I'm glad to see that you're feeling better. What went on there, and can the voters rest assured that you were healthy and ready for this?
I'm in great shape. Out open to close every day, and just got dehydrated. We forgot to drink a lot of water. We've got to stay focused on water, so that set me back. I got dehydrated, rehydrated, and off and running, and full speed ever since.
Okay. And let me ask
Thank you for asking.
Yes, sir. We've talked about it before, but why did you decide to run for the Senate? House seats tend to be safe. Why did you decide to take this jump?
No, it certainly had a seat that, even though it's in a Republican district, I won it by 10 points, and I could have certainly stayed there. But this is a real opportunity, Brad, to really move the needle in a much bigger way on all the areas that I've been so focused on in 3 terms in Congress. The addiction crisis in America, 110,000 dead. The mental health crisis in America, 50,000 per year dead. And of course, the systemic racism that we have in our criminal justice system that we've got to address. We can't be the world's jailer. We have to do so much better. So I can get so much more done because the blockade is always the Senate. Those 10 votes in the Senate, that's the problem. I got to convince those 10 Republicans to get on our bills, and I've done that in the past, and will continue to do that.
Okay, let's run through some issues. Let's start with Gaza. So over the weekend, obviously, things flared up with Iran launching an attack. It appears those things have been intercepted. The president has said, Israel, maybe it's time to slow things down. Not maybe, but it's time to slow things down. Where do you stand right now on Gaza? What should Israel be doing? Where should our support be?
Well, first of all, we stand with Israel and what happened with Iran. I mean, that was an unprecedented attack from Iranian soil and all their proxies. So I really applaud the president and thank the president for standing with Israel and helping them defend and come out pretty much unscathed in this attack. That being said, I've said it's time for Netanyahu to go. We need new leadership in Israel. The Israelis will figure that out, but that's my opinion. But also, we've got to get to a ceasefire with 100% hostages released. The hostages have got to get released. At the same time, ceasefire. Then after that, we can address how we can help humanitarian aid, billions and tens of billions, and use my position as co-chair of the Abraham Accords Caucus, which is all about bringing the Arab nations to work with Israel and getting long-term lasting peace by creating business-to-business relationships, tourism, and personal relationships.
Mr. Netanyahu, is it time for him to move on?
Absolutely.
Okay. The border. Is there a crisis at the border? And what would you do about it?
Well, certainly a crisis at the border. We've got to have a safe and we've got to have a solid border, and that's what a country has. We have borders. But that being said, the Democrats and Republicans reached a compromise. We compromised way more than they did, and that bill would have passed, that border bill would have passed both houses. And then President Trump jumped out of nowhere and said, oh, I don't want the bill that we wanted. I want to use that bill to instead beat Joe Biden on the head in the presidential campaign and put politics over people once again. But that's what the Republican Party has been consistently. It's all about politics. It's all about winning. It's never, ever about the people. And that's what's disappointing. And of course, we got to fix immigration big time. And we're very, very pro-immigration, legal immigration, where we have in-country immigration where folks apply in their own country and move those numbers up from 1 million to 5 million folks, because immigrants, that diversity, that gives America who we are, drives our economy.
What would you do with those who are already here, who came across the border illegally?
We need a road to citizenship for those that are here.
A wall?
A wall is generally a pretty bad idea, but if we could take the pressure off, which we can, by using our consulates in Nicaragua, El Salvador, Haiti, open up Cuba, all those places, with our consulates there, people can apply in country, not have to make the trek through Mexico, not have to be at the mercy of some vicious cartels, and instead get a yes or a no in their country. But we also have to say we want immigrants here. They're the backbone of our country. That's why our housing price is so high. We're so short on immigrants to do all the work that do this work.
Abortion. Would you vote for the national?
I've already voted once in the Congress to codify Roe v. Wade and bring it back. I'll vote again and again and again. I have a 100% rating with Planned Parenthood. Matter of fact, we established an abortion clinic through our foundation and others up in Western Maryland. So folks in red Western Maryland can go and get an abortion safely if they so choose. 15 states have had 66 clinics close. So one in West Virginia closed. We opened up in Cumberland, Maryland, and we've been there almost a year now.
Mr. Trump has just made some headlines and caused a stir in sort of trying to move this issue towards it is a state matter.
No, it's a national matter. It's been settled law, and then we see what the consequences of an election have. When we elect a demagogue, when we elect a crazy person like Donald Trump, we put that type of a nut in the White House. Some unbelievably bad things have happened, and we've got to all get out and vote and stop that from ever happening again.
Okay, deficit, debt, and taxes. Here at the state level, we're wrestling with issues, and they're coming. The president has promised no tax increase for anybody making under $400,000. Are you concerned about the national debt? Are you concerned about the deficit?
Yeah, very much so. We have a $34 trillion deficit. I mean, I'm a business guy. I'm a businessman through and through. Decades, 3+ decades running a business from zero to a business across the United States. But at the end of the day, you got to pay your bills, and we can't just pay billions and billions of interest. So we've got to begin to work on that. And the biggest issue is the big companies, the Googles, the Fords, the General Motors, those big corporations, they're not paying their fair share. Trump took that tax from 35 to 21. They average now 15%. That's the minimum they have to pay. So they're paying 15%. You and I aren't paying 15%. So the Trump tax cut has to be reversed on these big corporations. And we've got to do other tax things like all the carried interest tax cut loophole. We've got to eliminate that. We've got to eliminate the loophole on FICA so we can save Social Security and protect Social Security. Great bill, House 2100. That fixes that special interest get out of jail pass that they have. So there's a lot we can do, but immigration also will drive young folks into the funnel, and they're all becoming taxpayers. So if we move those numbers up from 1 million to 5 million, we generate literally trillions of dollars each year in taxes because we have more people paying them. And right now we have a workforce that's dwindling because the baby boomers age out, and we have less birth rates. We need more folks here, and we can do that legally.
Okay, I have to ask you about the word that was used up on the Hill. I was listening to some call-in radio of late, and particularly in Baltimore. I was up there covering the bridge. And people were saying, hey, that word came out. That means it's in his lexicon. I'm hearing people express concern about the use of the word.
Yeah.
And you said you meant to say bugaboo. What was that all? What was that kerfuffle about bugaboo about?
Yeah, what that kerfuffle was at a budget hearing, I was talking about Republicans and their unwillingness to say we can raise taxes on the big corporations. The word bugaboo fit perfectly. If you read the text, it fit perfectly. However, I said a hateful word. I made a mistake. I apologized immediately. I didn't even know I said it. I've never heard that word. I don't know that word.
So it's not a part of your lexicon?
I've never heard that word in my life. My staff had to explain to me what that word was. It was 2 letters off. And hey, so misspoke. I apologize and absolutely apologize again and again. I've got a 30-year track record on the criminal justice system, and my record, it stands for itself.
Okay, we've gone through some of these issues here. It's hard to put a piece of paper between you and your primary opponent, Ms. Alsobrooks, on these issues. You tend to be in agreement on a lot of things. Why you? And this will really sort of be our final question here. But why you instead of Angela Alsobrooks? And people say, oh, she adds diversity. It's an all-male delegation right now.
Well, first of all, we're probably going to elect 2 women to the delegation, so that's going to be off the table pretty shortly. But really what's important is I'm the only candidate that's always been against the death penalty. I'm the only candidate that's only been out there hardcore supporting everything Planned Parenthood has ever done. I'm the only candidate that doesn't take money from Exxon, who doesn't help us in the climate. The only candidate that doesn't take money from our friends at Geico or block our insurance claims for mental health. The only candidate doesn't take money from Pfizer, who lead our drug prices to be higher and higher. And that fact that I'm the only candidate that's willing to say, I'll bear the burden. My family will bear the burden of what this election costs, because it's so important not to be controlled by the special interests, not to be controlled by the PACs. You know, last 2-year cycle, they gave $1.9 billion to politicians. If anybody thinks that was for free or that was a charitable operation, they're not thinking it through. But we've got to put people over politics. We've got to have things like term limits. We've got to have things like eliminating insider stock trading. We've got to have all your holdings in a blind trust. We've got to prevent politicians becoming lobbyists. We need major changes in our system. And of course, term limits for the U.S. Supreme Court. We suggest 18-year term limits for the U.S. Supreme Court. We need radical change, because no one is putting people over politics. And I think people are getting pretty exasperated.
You spoke of your ability, I said it was the last question, but one more. You spoke of your ability to self-fund. Will you self-fund the general election campaign if you get through this?
Every poll shows I'm the only candidate that can beat Larry Hogan. And I've got the resources to beat Larry Hogan. I've got the persona to beat Larry Hogan, the Eastern Shore, to pull up a lot of numbers, pull up big numbers in Southern Maryland, will sweep really well in Western Maryland. I'm the only candidate that can take Hogan down. And if we don't take Larry Hogan down, the U.S. Senate is Republican. That's the bottom line. The U.S. Senate's Republican. I can beat Larry, and that's the difference.
Will you self-fund your general campaign?
I'll be self-funding a boatload of money in that general campaign.
Not entirely.
I'll love to get a check, Brad. Feel free. Write us a check for $100. So we'll be doing a lot of that type funding also.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Hey,
appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you.